It was a quiet evening at Marino's Diner, the kind of small-town restaurant where the hum of conversation blended with the clatter of silverware and the scent of freshly brewed coffee. The sun had dipped low, painting the windows gold, and for a brief moment, everything seemed calm until the shouting began. A woman's voice trembled from the back corner, followed by the sound of a chair crashing to the floor. Heads turned, people froze. And in the middle of it all, a man's hand gripped the woman's arm hard enough to make her wince. At the counter sat Ethan Ward, a 36-year-old single father with tired eyes and calloused hands from his job as an auto mechanic. His 7-year-old daughter, Hazel, was quietly coloring beside him, humming to herself, unaware of the tension spreading across the room. But Ethan noticed. He always noticed. He'd seen this kind of scene before. Too many times, and every time he walked away, it haunted him later. So this time, he stood. Before anyone could speak, Ethan crossed the room. "Let her go," he said, voice calm but edged with warning. The man sneered, muttering something under his breath, but Ethan didn't back down. He gently stepped between them, shielding the woman like a wall. The man's hand twitched as if to swing, but one firm look from Ethan stopped him cold. The manager rushed over, threatening to call the police, and the man stormed out, shouting curses into the evening air. The woman stood there trembling, mascara streaked down her cheeks, clutching her purse like a lifeline. Ethan handed her a napkin, his voice softening. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded faintly but couldn't find words. Hazel peeked from the counter, worried, and Ethan gave her a small, reassuring smile. He didn't ask the woman's name, didn't press for details. He just offered her a seat, a cup of coffee, and the quiet safety of not having to explain. If you believe that kindness and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your small action helps us spread real stories that remind the world good people still exist. The woman who later introduced herself as Ariana Vale stayed at the diner long after the incident. She said little, just that she'd been meeting someone she thought she could trust, and it went wrong fast. Ethan didn't pry. He talked about lighter things, instead how Hazel wanted to build a treehouse, how business at the garage had been slow, how sometimes you just had to keep showing up, even when life kicked you down. Ariana smiled weakly, her hands trembling around her mug. She thanked him for stepping in, said she'd send him something for his kindness, but Ethan just shook his head. "You don't owe me anything," he said simply. When she finally left, she gave Hazel a gentle smile and whispered, "You've got a brave dad." Ethan thought that was the end of it. But life had a strange way of bringing back the things you thought were gone. 3 days later, the morning sun spilled across Ethan's small front porch in Willow Creek. He was fixing Hazel's school backpack when a long black car pulled up to the curb. It didn't belong on their street. Its polished frame reflected the whole block, a quiet symbol of wealth and distance. Hazel's eyes went wide. "Daddy, who's that?" She whispered. A man stepped out, tall and neatly dressed, wearing black gloves and a hat. He looked like someone from another world entirely. He walked up to Ethan with the kind of confidence that made neighbors peek through curtains. "Mr. Ethan Ward?" he asked. His voice was formal but not unfriendly. "Miss Vale asked me to find you." Ethan frowned. "Ariana?" "Yes," the man said, extending a sealed envelope. "She asked me to deliver this personally." Inside was a note, simple, handwritten on expensive stationery. "Ethan, I owe you more than a thank you. You didn't just step in that night. You reminded me that there are still people who act from the heart. Please, don't refuse this. It's not a gift, it's a promise kept." Beneath the letter was a check. Ethan's heart stopped when he saw the number. $50,000. He stared at it, disbelief twisting his stomach. He'd been behind on rent, juggling repairs at the garage with caring for Hazel, and now this piece of paper could fix everything. But it didn't feel right. He handed it back to the driver. "Tell her I can't take this." The driver smiled faintly. "She expected you to say that. She also said to tell you it's already been transferred to your garage's account. Consider it an investment, not charity." And just like that, the car drove off, leaving Ethan standing there with Hazel holding his hand, eyes wide with wonder. For days, Ethan wrestled with what had happened. The deposit was real. His garage suddenly had funds to cover overdue bills, buy new tools, and even expand. Customers began coming back, drawn by the quality work and quiet honesty that had always defined him. But what truly shook him wasn't the money, it was what came next. A week later, the same car returned. This time, Ariana stepped out. In the daylight, she looked completely different, poised, elegant, and confident, like someone who belonged on magazine covers. Yet when she saw Ethan, her eyes softened instantly. "I had to thank you properly," she said, smiling gently. "I didn't get to tell you that night. I'm not who you thought. I run a small foundation. I've spent years helping others, but that night, I forgot how it felt to need help myself. You reminded me." Ethan didn't know what to say. He'd never been comfortable around wealth or status, and Ariana clearly had both. But she wasn't there to flaunt it. She wanted to help. Genuinely. She spent the afternoon at the garage, chatting with Hazel, learning about the town. When she left, she said something that stayed with him. "Sometimes, the people who give the most have the least to spare. You gave me safety. The least I can do is make sure you never lose it." Weeks passed, and life began to feel brighter. The garage flourished. Hazel finally got her treehouse. Ethan even started smiling more, something his neighbors hadn't seen in years. But one evening, when rain tapped gently on the windows, Ariana showed up again, this time without her driver. She looked tired, carrying a sadness she tried to hide. She confessed that, despite her wealth, she'd been struggling. Her late father had left behind a company full of greed and politics. She was trying to change it, to make it about people again, but it was tearing her apart. "Everyone wants something," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Except you. You just helped." Ethan offered her coffee, and for the first time she cried freely, safe in the same kind of simple kindness he'd shown her that night. Hazel came in halfway through, wrapping Ariana in a small, innocent hug that said more than words could. In the months that followed, Ariana became a quiet part of their lives. She'd visit the garage, sometimes in jeans and a baseball cap, other times in sleek business suits. She'd bring lunch for Hazel, donate to local schools, and slowly, Willow Creek began to change. Ethan didn't realize it right away, but her presence wasn't just helping his business, it was healing his heart. For years, he'd buried himself in work after losing his wife in an accident. He'd stopped believing that good things could find him again. But Ariana wasn't a miracle. She was a reminder that sometimes, when you act selflessly, life finds a way to send that light back to you. One crisp morning, Ariana asked Ethan to meet her at the diner, the same one where they'd first crossed paths. When he arrived, the place had been quietly reserved. A small envelope sat on the table, beside 2 mugs of coffee. Inside was a proposal not romantic, but transformative. She wanted to officially partner with him in launching a community garage program offering free repairs for struggling families. Single parents. She called it second gear. Because, she said softly, everyone deserves another chance to move forward. Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. He'd spent so many years trying to give Hazel a stable life, never imagining that his small acts of kindness would ripple this far. As they looked out the window, sunlight streaming in, it wasn't just gratitude that filled the air, it was hope. That night, when he tucked Hazel into bed, she asked, "Daddy, are we rich now?" He smiled, brushing her hair back. "Maybe not with money," he said, "but with people like her in our lives." "Yeah, I think we're rich in every way that matters." And for the first time in a long time, Ethan realized he wasn't just surviving anymore, he was living. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Every story we tell carries a message of compassion, courage, and second chances. And your support helps it reach someone who might just need it most today. Special request: before you leave, comment below with one word that describes how this story made you feel. Your words inspire the next story we tell, because sometimes it only takes one small act of kindness to change not just one life but many.